The metal shook around him. Explosions roared in the distance. Smoke curled through broken vents. Private Darren Holt crawled through the ruined corridor, dragging his bleeding leg behind him. His combat suit was torn, his helmet cracked. Blood dripped down his face, but he didn't stop. He couldn't. The last thing he remembered was the ambush. They'd landed on the wrong ridge, directly in the line of enemy fire. The alien forces weren't supposed to be that advanced. Intel said. Their weapons were outdated, but that intel was wrong. His entire squad was gone. A flash of light blinded him. His hand slipped. His body fell hard against a cold, metallic floor. Then darkness. When Darren woke, it wasn't on a battlefield. He was lying on something soft. Clean, warm. He blinked slowly, trying to focus. A ceiling of glowing white lights. The smell of sterile air and something floral. His eyes shifted. He wasn't alone. A figure sat beside him, checking a small screen. Slender fingers moved with precision over a glowing interface. She had pale blue skin, long white hair tied neatly, and eyes like frozen stars. Her uniform was tight, black and white, shaped perfectly to her figure. Medical markings glowed on her chest and shoulder. She noticed he was awake. "You're lucky," she said softly. Her voice was smooth, almost like a song. "2 more minutes and I have had to replace your leg entirely." "Where?" Darren tried to speak but coughed instead. "You're safe. This is a neutral orbiting med station. You were recovered after your signal flared during evacuation protocol. Your war is paused for now." He tried to sit up but groaned. "Don't," she said, placing a gentle hand on his chest. "Your spine needs 40 more minutes of regeneration. I've already started the treatment." Her touch was warm. Too warm for someone so cold-looking. Her eyes lingered on his face longer than a typical doctor should. Darren looked around. Why aren't there any other patients? "You're the only one they saved." A silence settled between them. Then she smiled slowly, knowingly. "I'm Dr. Alira, assigned here during the ceasefire window. I specialize in human biology." He frowned. "You're an alien." "Yes," she replied. "And still the only one who could keep your blood from boiling during organ stabilization. Human bodies are fragile, but fascinating." Her eyes moved over his chest, and something in her tone shifted. Not mockery, not threat, curiosity. Darren swallowed. "What kind of treatment are you giving me?" "Advanced cellular therapy," she said, "but your vitals are unstable. There's a pattern in your heart rate I don't like." She leaned in, close enough for him to feel her breath. Her hands touched a panel beside his ribs, sending a cooling wave through his body. "I'll need to adjust the rhythm manually." He stared at her. "Manually?" Dr. Alira's lips curved. "Yes, it's called sync resonance therapy. We use our own biofrequency to regulate yours. It only works when we're close." Her face hovered inches from his. She wasn't just healing him, she was watching him. Testing him. Darren tensed. "Is this really a medical procedure?" Her expression didn't change. "Would you like to stop?" He hesitated. "No." For the next hour, Alira moved around him with a dancer's grace, applying thin layers of biotech gel, adjusting nodes, whispering in a language he didn't understand. She hummed softly some alien tune that made his chest feel less tight. And through it all, he felt his body healing. The pain dulled, the warmth spread. His breathing steadied. At the edge of his awareness, he wondered if this was really standard treatment. Later, when she returned with a nutrient pack and sat beside him, he asked, "Why are you helping me?" "I'm a soldier." "You're not on my side." Alira looked thoughtful. "Because the war is a lie, one built on fear. You don't know what we were really defending. And I think it's time someone told you the truth." Darren stared at her. But before he could ask anything else, The station lights dimmed. A soft alarm chimed in the walls. Illyra stood quickly, her mood changing. "They found us," she said. "Who? Not everyone wants peace," she replied. "Especially not those who profit from pain." She helped him to his feet. "Can you walk?" "Barely." "Then hold on. Because I have one last treatment for you, soldier." She reached for something under the bed, an old sidearm with human markings. Darren stared at her. "That's military issue." Illyra gave a soft smile. "No one ever said I was just a doctor." Darren leaned on Illyra's shoulder, his legs still weak from the regeneration. His thoughts raced. Nothing made sense. 1 minute he was a wounded soldier. The next he was being treated by a stunning alien doctor who now held a human military sidearm like she'd carried it all her life. She led him down a narrow corridor lit by soft amber strips. The med station had changed. The peaceful hum of life support was now broken by sharp clicks in the ceiling panels, like something mechanical moving fast above them. "They're boarding," Illyra whispered. "Who?" Darren asked, still clutching his side. "Not your army, not mine. These ones don't wear flags. They come for secrets. And they know what's inside you." Darren narrowed his eyes. "Inside me?" She gave him a quick glance. "You were exposed during the last blast. You absorbed trace amounts of something that was never meant to touch human blood." He didn't understand, but she kept moving fast. They reached a sealed door. At the end of the hall, Illyra pressed her palm to the console. A hidden panel slid open with a soft hiss. Inside was a compact med lab, but unlike the rest of the ship, this one was darker, less clean, more personal. Papers, test samples, even an old photograph of Illyra with someone who looked very human. "You've been working with humans a long time," Darren said quietly. She nodded. "Longer than your people would accept." He sat on the edge of a steel bench, watching her as she prepared something on a tray, vials of bright liquid, fine metallic needles, and a strange curved device that looked like a living shell. Illyra turned to him. "I can extract what's in you, but we have to move quickly. If they take you alive, they won't just dissect you. They'll turn you into a carrier." He blinked. "Carrier of what?" "The thing that nearly wiped my kind out a century ago. It binds to certain blood types, activates only in humans exposed to alien biofields. You were caught in the blast, remember?" Darren's mind spun. He remembered the blast. The bright green pulse that took down the entire ridge. "And if you're wrong?" he asked. She paused. Her voice softened. "Then you'll heal faster. At worst, you'll live. But if I'm right, and we wait, you'll turn into something we can't save." Darren gritted his teeth. "Then do it." She leaned in, placed the shell device over his chest, and pressed gently. He felt a strange coldness sink into his bones, and then a pressure, like his blood was being pulled in two directions. "You might feel heat," she warned. That was an understatement. His skin burned. His heart raced. He clenched his fists, forcing himself to stay conscious. Illyra's voice stayed calm. "Almost there." Alarms outside grew louder. A sharp bang hit the bulkhead. "Too late," she whispered. "They're inside." She yanked the device off him and shoved a metal capsule into his palm. "Don't drop this. If I don't make it out, get this to Commander Briss in the Vega system. He's the only one who can protect what's inside." Darren tried to stand, his body still weak. "I'm not leaving without you." Illyra looked at him with those cold, beautiful eyes full of something that wasn't fear, but pain. "You don't understand. I'm not just a doctor. I was part of the team that made the virus. The thing inside you, it was meant to be a weapon." Darren stared at her in shock. "You're one of them?" "I was," she said, "but I defected. And I've been trying to stop this ever since." Another bang. "Closer now." Darren raised the sidearm. "Then we finish this together. Alira smiled, just slightly. You're not like the others. Neither are you. The door exploded inward. Smoke filled the room. Shapes moved through. Tall, faceless figures in smooth, black armor with no emblems, no voices, just weapons and purpose. Darren fired. Alira grabbed his arm and pulled him through the rear hatch. Escape pods, she said. They'll follow the wrong heat trail if I send one empty first. You'll come too? Her eyes met his. If I don't, who's going to finish your treatment? The pod door closed. He watched through the small window as Alira turned, weapon in hand, facing the shadows alone. Then everything vanished in a burst of white light, and the stars pulled him away. The escape pod jolted violently as it broke through the med station's outer shield. Spinning once before the stabilizers kicked in, Darren groaned, gripping the sides of the cramped chamber. The pain in his chest had faded, but something deeper remained like a hum inside his blood. He clutched the small metallic capsule Alira had given him. No bigger than a thumb drive, but somehow it felt heavier than anything he'd ever carried. Inside it was something powerful, maybe even deadly, something others had died to hide. And more would kill to get. He thought about Alira, her calm voice, her sharp mind, the way she had touched him with both precision and care. A doctor, yes, but also something more. A woman with secrets. A weapon maker who had turned against her creators, and now, maybe dead. The pod's guidance system blinked and beeped. A cold-as-eye voice crackled overhead. Nearest Federation beacon. Located. Autocourse set. 8A, 12 hours. Darren leaned back and exhaled. 12 hours in this tin can. Alone. Injured. Hunted. He couldn't afford sleep. As the stars slipped past the view window, Darren replayed everything she'd told him. The virus. The blast on the ridge. The exposure. It binds to certain blood types. Activates only in humans exposed to alien biofields. What was it doing to him now? He pulled open the pod's tiny med compartment. Inside were standard diagnostic tools. A small scanner, some pain suppressants, a backup stim. He grabbed the scanner and pressed it to his neck. Vitals, elevated. Core temp, 39.2 degrees Celsius. Biofields, unstable. Foreign proteins, detected. Darren cursed under his breath. Whatever Alira had tried to remove, it wasn't gone. He looked at the capsule again. Maybe the virus wasn't just in his blood. Maybe it had merged with him. He checked the scanner history logs going back to his arrival on the med station. Alira had been running tests on him from the start. Even before he woke up. And their one note. Alert. Subject 117 HD Holt shows adaptive response. Protein has integrated into host stem cells. Irreversible without complete cellular reconstruction. He stared at the words, irreversible. She had known. She just hadn't told him. A red light blinked on the pod's console. Incoming transmission. He tapped it. A fuzzy image appeared. A face, human, male, mid-40s, grizzled beard, sharp eyes. Private Darren Holt? The man asked. Yes, this is Commander Briss, Vega Command. We received your emergency ping. Where's Dr. Alira? She stayed behind. She sent me with something. This. Darren held up the capsule. Briss's eyes widened. That's the original strand? That's what she said. The commander nodded slowly. Listen closely. You must not let that fall into the wrong hands. We've intercepted 3 rogue fleets already tracking your trajectory. One of them is not human. Do you understand? Darren nodded. What do I do? Get to Vega Station. We'll isolate you in the black level med bay. That strain, if it's what I think it is, was the reason the Orion Accord broke. Billions died before we shut it down. Darren clenched the capsule tightly. I think it's inside me, he said. Briss looked grim. Then let's hope it doesn't finish what it started. The screen went dark. And then something hit the pod. The lights flickered. The console sparked, warning, hull integrity compromised. Darren pulled himself toward the controls. A shape passed outside dark and fast. Not a ship, a drone. Sleek black with no markings. One of the collectors, another impact. He buckled in, slapped the override, and rerouted power to the evasive thrusters. The pod dipped hard, heading into a nearby atmosphere. A red planet below, no known outpost. No signal beacon, descent path. Locked, brace for impact. As fire licked the edges of the view window and the ground grew closer, Darren held the capsule tight against his chest. He didn't know if Illyra had survived, but whatever she'd done to him was far from over. ChatGPT said. The escape pod slammed into the planet's surface with bone-rattling force. Dirt and dust exploded outward in a fiery cloud as the small craft skidded across the red desert, its hull screeching against jagged rock before finally coming to a violent stop. Inside, Darren's head hit the side panel. The world spun. For a moment, he couldn't move, couldn't even breathe. Then his training kicked in. He unclipped the harness, stumbled to his feet, and dragged open the pod's emergency hatch. Heat hit him like a wave. The air was dry, thin, and smelled of scorched metal. A strange red sun hung in the sky above, casting long, eerie shadows across the barren landscape. Sharp mountains rose in the distance. No cities, no beacons, no sign of life. But he knew he wasn't alone. Behind him, the warning lights inside. The pod flickered. One message blinked on the cracked screen. Tracking signal active, Darren cursed. The drone had marked him. He reached for the med pack and the pistol Illyra had given him, still loaded. He strapped the capsule tight to his belt and stumbled out into the red sand. His head throbbed. Every heartbeat echoed in his ears. The virus, whatever it truly was still active. Illyra's treatment had slowed it, but the integration was spreading. He could feel it in his muscles like they were stretching beyond what they should, stronger, but unstable. He didn't have much time. A shadow passed overhead, silent, fast. He ducked under a jagged rock ledge and watched as the drone circled once, scanning the wreck, then slowly turned and began sweeping the desert beyond. He had maybe 10 minutes before it looped back. He started walking, limping toward the base of the nearest cliffs. He had to find shelter, somewhere to hide until he could figure out what to do. The capsule pressed against his side with every step, like a heartbeat of its own. Half an hour later, Darren reached a narrow canyon. The walls were smooth, almost artificial. Strange markings glowed faintly on the stone, not natural. A tunnel. He slipped inside. The temperature dropped immediately. Cool air rushed past him from deep within, as if the planet itself was breathing. The tunnel curved downward, deeper into the rock, until it opened into a dark chamber, filled with strange tech, ancient, rusted, but definitely alien, and not abandoned. A soft hum filled the air, and then a light, not from the walls, from a figure. Standing at the center of the chamber, she turned. It was Illyra, alive. Her white hair was tied back, her blue skin glowing faintly in the dim light. Her uniform was torn, her arm bleeding, but her eyes were sharp and focused. Darren froze. How? Are you here? I escaped, she said, walking toward him. Found this place first. It's an old outpost left behind after the war. I knew they'd send you here. The drone's programming is predictable. He moved toward her, still stunned. You knew I'd crash. I guided you. The beacon you used. It was never clean. I kept it dirty on purpose. He looked at her. You used me? I saved you, she said firmly. And I'm not done. She pointed to a large chamber behind her, filled with alien machines, pods, and glowing screens. One screen showed Darren's face. Medical data pulsed beside it. You're changing faster than I expected, she said. The virus isn't killing you, it's Evolving you. Darren backed away slightly. What does that mean? It means your body's adapting. Strength, speed, memory all improving. But if it keeps going, you'll become something else, not human, not alien, something in between. Darren's voice was low. Can you stop it? Illyra stepped closer, eyes serious. I can stabilize it, but you have to trust me again. One more time. He looked into her eyes. Everything in him said no, but the pounding in his chest, the heat in his blood, the fact that she was here again when she should have been gone. He nodded, then do it. Illyra placed her hands on either side of his face. Her skin was warm, her breath steady. I'll have to go deeper this time, she said. Into your neural layer. It'll feel intimate. Darren smirked faintly. You've already saved my life twice. What's one more? She smiled softly, then closed her eyes. And everything went black. Darren didn't dream. Not in the normal way. As Illyra's hands pressed to his temples, his thoughts shattered into pieces, memories, sensations, pain, desire, and fire. A warm current surged through his body, pulling him deeper. Not drowning. Drifting. He saw flashes of her memories. A lab. Bright white floors. Alien engineers standing over test subjects, humans. Some alive, some not. And Illyra standing behind the glass, watching, regret in her eyes. Then something else. A war room. Commanders shouting, maps flashing. A plan to release the virus across human lines, fast, lethal, untraceable. They believed humans would be too weak to adapt. But Illyra had seen the truth. She had seen hope in the enemy, and she had stolen a sample. Now, that sample was inside him. The vision snapped away like a broken string. Darren gasped and sat up, drenched in sweat. Illyra knelt beside him, breathing hard, skin glowing faintly from the energy she had just transferred. He touched his chest. I feel different. You are, she said quietly. I slowed the virus. Sealed it. It's part of you now, but it won't spread. And it won't kill you. His hands trembled. Then what will it do? It'll make you something else, she replied. A hybrid. One of a kind. Darren laughed under his breath. So now I'm the most valuable freak in the galaxy. Illyra nodded. And that's why they'll never stop hunting you. He stood slowly, more steady now, stronger. He could feel it in his bones, in the way his breath no longer burned his lungs. He felt alive in a way he never had before. But the moment was cut short. A shrill alarm echoed through the cavern. Illyra's eyes went wide. They found us. Darren grabbed the capsule from his belt. This is what they want, right? She nodded. But now that you're stabilized, it's not the capsule anymore. It's you. Heavy footsteps echoed from the tunnel. Illyra sprinted to the back wall, pressing a hidden panel. A small metal door hissed open, revealing a narrow vertical shaft. Climb. Fast. Darren didn't argue. They ascended the shaft, his enhanced muscles carrying him faster than he thought possible. Illyra followed closely, breathing hard but moving with practiced ease. Below them, the chamber filled with voices. Not human. Darren reached the top and pulled her up. They burst into the light of a setting sun. A wide cliff spread out before them. The desert stretching far into the horizon. In the distance, a shape. A ship. Small, sleek, old, but functioning. That's ours, Illyra said. I reactivated it when I got here. They ran. Behind them, black armored figures emerged from the tunnel, silent, swift, already raising their weapons. Shots rang out. The ground exploded around them. Darren turned and fired back, his enhanced vision locking onto targets without thought. He hit one clean in the neck, and it dropped like a stone. They reached the ship. Illyra slammed the ramp control. The hatch opened with a hiss. Darren turned one last time and saw something that made his blood freeze. One of the enemy soldiers. Wasn't like the others. Taller, thinner. Its helmet retracted. Its face was smooth. Metallic, but its eyes were human. It smiled at him. Then it vanished into smoke. What was that? He gasped as the ramp sealed behind them. Alira stood still. For a moment, a mimic. A what? An artificial being built from the virus strain. They were meant to replace you, perfect copies, but empty. Darren backed away slowly. So now it's copying me? She nodded. Double quotes, and if it gets to Vega Station before we do, she whispered, they won't know which one to shoot. Darren's hands tightened around the pistol. Then we better fly fast. The ship rose from the red dust just as more shadows poured from the cliffs behind them. But Darren didn't look back. He had a destination now, and a war far bigger than he ever imagined had just begun. Asterisk, the old scout ship groaned as it tore through the upper atmosphere, shaking under the strain of its worn thrusters. Inside the cockpit, Darren sat beside Alira, eyes fixed on the nav screen, which blinked a single message in red. Warning. 2 unidentified vessels in pursuit. Behind them, streaks of dark vapor trailed across the sky, fast-moving ships. Sleek and predator-like, with no visible markings. Collectors or worse. How long until they catch up? Darren asked. Alira's fingers danced across the control console. 5 minutes. Maybe less if they boost. Darren looked down at the capsule, still clipped to his belt. But now he knew better. It wasn't the capsule they were chasing. It was him. Alira activated a pulse flare and launched it behind them. The flare exploded mid-air, creating a blinding burst that briefly knocked their pursuers off course. Nice move, Darren muttered. I built this thing myself, she said. Before I knew I'd need to run from my own kind. He studied her for a second. Why did you do it, Alira? Why betray them? Why save me? She didn't answer right away. Then she said, because I was the one who created the virus. And I couldn't live with what it became. Silence filled the cabin. Then a new signal blinked on the screen. Incoming hail. Vega Outpost 17. Darren tapped the comm. This is Private Holt, Federation Ground Forces. Transmitting secure priority code. We're inbound with critical asset and urgent medical case. A crackle. Then a stern voice replied, Holt, you're not on any active roster. Where've you been for the last 72 hours? I've been dying, he snapped. Now I'm done with that. Open your hangar. We're bringing you something bigger than you can imagine. There was a pause. Confirmed. Sending landing vector. Be advised, base security will escort you immediately. As the coordinates appeared on screen, Alira changed course. The ship banked hard, shooting through the edge of Vega's atmosphere. Outside, the 2 pursuers closed in. We won't make it before they hit us again, Alira said. Darren stood. Then I need to buy us time. Alira grabbed his arm. You're still unstable, he nodded. Exactly. That's why they want me. I can use it. He reached into the locker beside the rear hatch and pulled out a jump pack and an old shock. Lance, you're not going to. Alira started. I am, he said. He turned to her. You get to Vega. Get them the data. Tell them everything. Alira stepped forward quickly. You won't survive out there. Darren gave a weak smile. Neither will they. She stared at him for a moment longer, then pulled him into a sudden, silent embrace. Her voice was low in his ear. Come back to me. Darren pulled back. If I don't, make sure they never use what's inside me. He opened the airlock, wind rushing in. Then he launched out into the sky. The wind ripped at his suit, but the jump pack held steady. He soared toward the nearest enemy ship, landing hard on its wing. The drone reacted instantly, trying to spin, shake him off. Darren activated the shock. Lanson plunged it through the hull. Sparks exploded. The ship spiraled, engine flaring. He jumped again, landing on the second one. His body was moving faster than it ever had, stronger, more focused. The virus inside him wasn't dormant. It was awake, He punched through the hatch of the second ship and yanked open the control core. Inside, he saw it. Not wires. Not metal. A living mimic. It looked almost human. Almost like him. It stared. Eyes glowing. No emotion. Then it said in his voice, "You are not the original anymore." Darren shoved the lance through its chest and jumped. The ship exploded behind him. The shockwave slammed him midair, sent him spinning, and for a moment, the sky was all fire and light. Then darkness. When he woke up, he was surrounded by white lights and cold walls. Alira stood over him, bruised but alive. "You made it," she whispered. His voice cracked. "Barely." A figure stepped into view. Commander Briss, grim-faced, hands behind his back. "You're a walking biohazard, soldier," he said. Darren smirked. "Still human enough to bleed." Briss looked at Alira. "We'll begin the extraction of the data soon." "But him? He doesn't." "Leave this facility." Alira stepped forward. "He's not a weapon. He's a survivor." Briss didn't answer. He only stared at Darren. And Darren realized this fight wasn't over. It had just changed sides. The lights in the Vega outpost med bay hummed faintly. Too sterile, too quiet, like the calm before a storm. Darren sat upright on the edge of the diagnostics bed, wires still trailing from his chest and arms. He felt stronger than ever, sharper-like. Every nerve had been fine-tuned. But it wasn't just strength. It was control. The virus inside him had stopped spreading. It had stabilized. It had bonded with him completely. Alira paced nearby, eyes flicking between medical scans and security. Feeds. She hadn't slept. Darren knew it. She hadn't stopped fighting since the moment she first pulled him off that battlefield. Commander Briss entered, flanked by 2 armed guards. He didn't waste time. The Federation Council wants the capsule, and they want him in cryo until further notice, Briss said, nodding at Darren. Alira stepped between them. "He's not going anywhere." Briss raised an eyebrow. "You don't give the orders here, Doctor." "I'm not just a doctor," she said firmly. "I'm the only one who can explain what's inside him." Briss crossed the room slowly, stopping a few feet from Darren. "You're valuable. Too valuable. If the enemy gets another sample, we lose entire systems. But if we use you correctly, we end this war." Darren's jaw tightened. "You mean weaponize me?" Briss didn't deny it. "You're not human anymore. You're an edge." Darren stood, his enhanced body steady, ready. "I'm still me. I bleed. I remember every man who died on that ridge. I don't take orders from politicians who only see soldiers as tools." Briss's eyes turned cold. "You think you can run from this?" Darren stepped forward. "No, I'm going to end it." He pulled the capsule from his belt and held it up. "Not by using this, but by destroying it." Briss froze. "You destroy that? You destroy the only known sample?" Darren nodded. "Exactly." Alira stepped beside him. "We already saved 1 life." "That was enough for me." Briss signaled the guards. "Stop them." But Darren moved first. Faster than any of them. He twisted the capsule, activated the core breach protocol Alira had encoded, and dropped it to the floor. A blinding white light exploded outward, but didn't kill. It sterilized, erased the contents. Permanently, when the light faded, the capsule was nothing but ash. Briss looked stunned, furious. "You just erased the cure." Darren turned. "No, I am the cure." He stepped past the guards who didn't dare move. They'd seen what he could do. Alira followed him down the corridor, past stunned medtechs and silent security. Alarms didn't blare. No one stopped them. Outside, the landing bay doors opened to the vast dark of space. One old scout ship, Alira's, stood ready. Darren paused at the ramp. "You really want to leave everything behind?" Alira asked. He looked at her and smiled. "There's nothing left worth staying for, but maybe something worth building." She smiled back. He took one last look at Vega Station, the place that almost became his prison, and then walked into the ship. The engines roared to life. As they rose into the stars, Illyra leaned against him and said softly, "You never asked about the side effects." Darren laughed. "I figured if I survived this long, I could handle them," she smirked. "We'll see. There may be enhancements." He looked over at her. "What kind?" She leaned closer. "The kind that make you very, very difficult to sleep next to." And then they jumped into hyperspace. Not as doctor and patient, not as weapon and target, but as two survivors, with a galaxy to outsmart.